College football fans, you made it to this edition of the Trust the Beard podcast. I'm your host, The Beard. Today, we're going to talk about what is wrong with college football. You know, football is supposed to be the ultimate meritocracy. You win your games, you prove it on the field, you earn your shot. But somewhere along the way, the College Football Playoff Committee stopped rewarding results and started protecting the brand. You know, every week we're told that this is the most rigorous evaluation in sports. But if you look closer, the same conference keeps getting the benefit of the doubt. The same narratives get recycled, the goalposts get moved, and the same teams get propped up no matter what actually happens on the field. It's a system built to preserve power and not measure performance. And that's exactly why I created the Beard Rating Index. If the committee won't evaluate the teams objectively, then someone has to. And this system cuts through the noise, strips away the bias. Doesn't matter what conference you're in. Doesn't matter what coach you have. It doesn't matter what your recruiting class is. It's all about performance. Do you win or do you lose? So today we're breaking down how the college football system is failing, who it's protecting, and how the BRI cuts through the barriers the committee keeps putting up. And if you want to understand how it all works, the why behind the results, stick with me for about the first 20 minutes. I'm going to walk you through step by step the entire process so you can see how the BRI evaluates teams differently. But if you're ready for just the final rankings, no judgment here. Those are waiting for you around the 40-minute mark. But either way, you're about to see college football through a completely different lens. Let's get started. Okay, everybody, welcome in. This is my laboratory. This is where I do all my rankings. As you can see here on the left, this is my Beard Rating Index. On the right, I have set up ESPN website so I can get all their scores. And then over here, I have sportsreference.com, and this kind of helps me with team streaks and all that stuff. We'll go ahead and jump right into it. And this is a step-by-step tutorial of how I rank my teams. So first off, we're going to look at Georgia Tech. And normally when I do this, if you look on the left here, I start out alphabetically. And so I just go to the first conference. I could do top 25 or all of FBS, but normally I just start with the ACC. So we're going to look at Georgia versus Georgia Tech. So we're going to scroll down here and find them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight these so it's a little bit easier to track. Where's Georgia Tech? There we are. Go ahead and turn that yellow too. Okay. So as you can see here, I have Georgia ranked number 4. That means they are worth 133 points. And actually, before I do this, I need to do one thing. I need to freeze my top row here so it follows me. It's a lot easier to do this that way. So there we go. These are the teams. This is the week 14 opponent. This is what the current ranking is for the team. And this is how much the team is worth. Now, as you see, as I scroll through here, they earn opponent points. So whatever your opponent is worth, that's what you earn if you beat them. And if you lose to them, that's how many points you lose. There's the score margin, right? How much you beat them by or how much you lost to them by. And I've added a couple ones for this year. They're a streak bonus penalty and a road bonus. So streak bonus, I think I explained it in my last episode, right? If you win 3 games, you get 5 points. Any more after that, you get an additional 5 points. And a road bonus, if you win on the road, you get an additional 7 points. So with Georgia and Georgia Tech, Georgia will get a road bonus because they won at Georgia Tech on the road. So we'll go ahead and start this here. So we'll go ahead and put W at GT. So they won at Georgia Tech. They are ranked 4th in the country. Georgia is what I have them. And as you can see over here on the right, this is what ESPN has them ranked. So I at least got that part right. They are worth 133 points because of that number 4 ranking. So they beat Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is ranked 32nd and are worth 104 points. So Georgia earns 104 points. Now they beat Georgia Tech by 7. So they earn 7 points. We'll look at the streak bonus here in a second. But they won on the road, so they earn another additional 7 points. So that's how that works if you win. If you lose, so they lost to Georgia. Okay, so Georgia Tech loses the inverse of what Georgia is worth. So Georgia is worth 133, which means their inverse is 4. So it's kind of basically what your ranking is how many points you're going to lose if you lose to that team, right? And this is to kind of so it doesn't punish a team by losing to a really good team, right? So if you lost to, I have Indiana at number 1. If you lose to Indiana by 1 point, you're only losing 2 total because you're losing 1 point because Indiana's worth 1, and then minus 1 because that's the score margin. So you're not getting punished by losing to a really good team. Now, on the inverse, I believe UMass is like 136. So if you lose to them, you're losing 136 points, as you should. If you're losing to the last place team, you should be severely penalized. So moving forward with this, so Georgia Tech loses 4 points because that's how much the inverse of Georgia's worth. And then they lost by 7. They don't get a road bonus, right, because it was at home. So now we go over here. I use this as my streak. It's kind of what I've been using lately. And an ad will pop up because, they have to pay the bills. I understand. So you look at Georgia here. Quite an impressive win streak, right? So they last beat Georgia Tech. So we got to start all the way up here. 1, 2, 3. That's 5 points. And every point or every win after that consecutively is an additional 5. So there's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So right there, Georgia has earned 30 points by beating Georgia Tech. Now we go look at Georgia Tech. And I don't believe they will get a streak bonus because I think they lost to Pitt last week and then lost to Georgia. We get another ad. We'll just have to pause for a second. Sorry about that. And so they beat Boston College, right, a few weeks ago, but they've lost 2 in a row. There's no streak there. As you can see at the beginning of the year, they had major streaks, although this FBS one doesn't count. So the streak starts here, pauses, and then continues here. So here they would earn the 5 points and then continue down. Here the streak ends and they have no more, so they just get a 0. So as we go over here, remember, Georgia was 133, Georgia Tech was 104. You add up all these, that gives Georgia 281 points for week 14. So they started out at 133, and then you add all of this, it gives them 281. And then with Georgia, what were they, 104, right? They don't lose a whole lot because Georgia's a really good team, and they only lost by 7. So that gives them 93 points for the week. And I already have the formula embedded here. If you look up here, I'll highlight it. So this kind of adds up all the points together and just makes it a lot easier. So you can see if they didn't have a road bonus, right, it's 274. But since they do, I'll go ahead and add that back in there. So again, I already have the formula embedded. Move over here, season points. So this is what Georgia has coming into week 14 here. Right, they had 1,683 points. Georgia Tech had 1,017. So you add 281 to that and add 93 to that. That gives them their BRI season points. So this is how many points they have earned for the entire year. So you can see 1964, pretty high number relatively if you were following any of this. And then that's what Georgia Tech gets. Okay, and then eventually I'll do what their ranking is for the week based on these numbers. And so we'll go ahead and do the next one. So we'll look at Notre Dame and Stanford. Scroll down here. Hopefully they're somewhat close to each other. No, I don't believe so, but that's okay. We'll highlight that. So Notre Dame beat Stanford at Stanford. So I have Notre Dame ranked number 2. I know that can be pretty controversial given the fight between Notre Dame and Miami. But this is what the system has given me. This is how I have these are the numbers, and they kind of don't lie. Now, is Notre Dame the number 2 team in the country? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe we'll find them in the national championship again, like we did last year. But based on the numbers and how I do this system, they have earned the second most points up to week 14. Now, again, this is going to change a lot because they don't have a conference championship. Ohio State, Indiana do. Georgia, I believe, is playing for it. Virginia, Duke, all the teams that are playing for a conference title, some of them will surpass Notre Dame because they're going to get extra points for winning the conference title game. So anyway, it'll all shake out, I promise. But we look here, they beat Stanford. So we'll scroll down and look at Stanford. Stanford is worth 35 points because I have them ranked 102nd, right? They're not a very good team. So Notre Dame only gets 35 points for that. Okay. They beat them 49-20. So some quick math, they beat them by 29 points, right? This was on the road, so they do get 7. And we'll go ahead and look, and I'll punch in Notre Dame right here, and we'll look at their win streak. And I do this every week for all the teams. And so it can be rather time consuming, but I really want you guys to understand how I do this, right? I have no bias in this, right? There's no of my personal input into this thing. The only thing that is subjective on my end is when I get to the very first release of the rankings. It's the stats that I choose to rank these teams, and we'll get into that a little bit later. And so we look at Notre Dame, quite an impressive win streak, right? They lost the first 2 games, and then they've won this many. So 1, 2, 3, there's 5 right there. 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So by beating Stanford, they earn an additional 40 points because they've won that many games in a row. And that's just kind of my feeling, is that when you win consecutive games, you should be rewarded because it is hard to win in college football. So if you can string together 10 straight wins, that's pretty impressive. And so we'll go down to Stanford. So we'll go ahead and look. Stanford will have lost 29 points because they lost by that much, and they'll only lose 2 because Notre Dame is ranked 2nd. So scroll down to Stanford. I'll go ahead and highlight this so you can follow it along a little better. So Stanford lost to Notre Dame. -2, right? Because of Notre Dame's ranking. And then -29 because that was the score margin. Obviously, they don't get a road bonus because it was at home. And so we'll go ahead and look at Stanford. And I think since they beat Cal last week, they will not have a losing streak. So, yeah, right here they would have had a losing streak. They break it by beating Cal. And then right here they lost. So they get 0. And so we'll look at their score. Right, they only had 35 points coming into the week. So they lose 2, they lose 29, no bonuses. So they only have 4 for week 14, right? That's what they earned, or, that was what was subtracted from their loss. And so that only gives them 146 points for the season. And then you add that total, coming in, they had 146 points coming into this week. So you add the 4 points from week 14, and they only have 150, which makes sense because you scroll up here, they're 4-8, right? They're not a good team. You look at their streaks, right? They lost 2 back and forth here. They lost 3 in a row. Like they're not a good team, and so that's why they are rated so low. And you go back up here to Notre Dame, right? Coming in, they're ranked 2nd. They're worth 135. They earned 35 points for beating Stanford. They beat them by 29. They earn an additional 40 because of the streak, 7 for the road bonus. So not a bad win. Even though they had a terrible opponent, they made the best of it, right? They beat them by 29. They earned the streak and on the road. So they earned 246 for week 14, added to their 1811 that they had for the season. They now have 2,057 points for the total season. Now, what I do here is I will just sort this out. Let me get my data here. I sort this, and what this does is this just puts all the games I've already done at the top. I normally don't highlight it. I just did that for you guys. And so after every game, I do this so it kind of shuffles all the games that are completed up to the top. And then I can go on freely down here and scroll back and forth. So right now, we will pause this. I'm going to fill this out for the rest. I'll kind of show you the last few things. But before I do that, I'm going to go back to my week 7. I'm sorry. Let me scroll back. Nope, wrong one. I believe it's sheet 1. Okay, so I'm going to expand this for a second. And this is the kind of the genesis of where my rankings come from, right? And so what I do is I rank the teams at a certain point where I think every team has played at least 4 FBS games. I will rank them based on their on-field production, right? I don't do preseason rankings because, I mean, look, Penn State was 1 and Texas was 1, Penn State was 2. Those two teams went in entirely different directions at the beginning of the season, right? Penn State fell off, fired their coach, completely irrelevant this season. Texas fell off at first. They've kind of gained some traction lately, but the preseason was wildly, I won't say inappropriate. It was wildly off, right? Inaccurate is the word I'm looking for. And so what I do here is based on, I think is through week 6, right? So most of these teams, if not all, have played at least 4 FBS opponents, right? I don't include the games against FCS opponents, right? This is not included in these stats. And so what I do is your total wins, your win percentage, your average scoring margin, turnover rate, points per play, yards per play, how many times your QB was sacked, your sack percentage, third down conversion, your conversion percentage, your punts per play, red zone scoring, touchdowns per game, and then I do the same thing for all your opponents. So it's like the defensive side of all these stats. And you look at all these numbers here, this is what they rank in the country at this point after week 6. So you can see Texas Tech, highly rated. And you scroll over here and also incorporate your strength of schedule up to that point. And then I average all those numbers, right? So not one stat is elevated above the other. They're all a small piece of a puzzle, right? Just like you do with the playoff. We talk about head-to-head. We talk about, your strength of schedule. It's not about one stat or one criteria. It's the full picture. It's the full body of work, right? Everything is a small piece to a greater puzzle, or a small puzzle piece, to a greater picture. And so with this, I rank everything, I average the ranking, and Texas Tech, coming into week 7, when I released my first ranking, had the highest average ranking at 15.2. There's 17, 18, 20, and over here is like their initial ranking, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this was their point worth. So coming into week 7, Texas Tech was the number 1 team in the country. Ohio State was 2, Indiana 3, Oregon, USC, Oklahoma, Utah, Alabama, Miami. That's Ole Miss, for those who are not familiar with just Mississippi. Missouri, Michigan, BYU, Virginia, Vanderbilt, right? These are among some of the best teams in the country. So I don't think it was wildly inaccurate on my end to rank them as such, right? These are just the numbers. And the subjective part is the categories that I pick, right? You can find flaws in these, I suppose, but I think over this many stats, you kind of get a good idea of how good teams are. Now you look, Texas Tech right now going into the conference championships. They're one of the best teams in the country. I think they're number 4 in the college football playoff. Ohio State's number 1. Indiana is up there. Oregon's up there. USC's kind of fallen off. Oklahoma is clamoring for a spot. So is Utah. So is Alabama. So is Miami. So is Ole Miss, even though they lost their coach. Missouri kind of fell off. Michigan's going to fall off. BYU's up there. Virginia's in the conference championship, right? Vanderbilt's talking about wanting a spot in the college football playoff, right? So this is very accurate. The numbers may not match, but I believe it's accurate enough to give you a good measurement about how good or bad these teams are. And so right here, I'm going to pause it, and I'm going to fill this rest out, and we'll come back to you, and I'll have it all, and I'll reveal my top 12 coming into week 14 and what I think about the teams moving forward. Okay, college football fans, we are back, and this concludes the Beard Rating Index for week 14. As you can see, I've done all of these games that happened over this past weekend, but what I did save for you is, if you look over here, is the top 25. So some of these I've already done. Mostly what I want to point out are the teams that are vying for a college football playoff spot. So Indiana, Purdue, Texas, Texas A&M. We did Georgia, Georgia Tech. We'll look at Ole Miss, maybe Utah. I think I already did that one. Texas Tech, Ohio State, Oregon, Oklahoma, Notre Dame. And we're kind of doing this in real time, even though it is recorded, but we will be finding out together in real time where these teams land after week 14. So going into the conference championship weekend. Now, the one conference I did leave out here was the Sun Belt, except for JMU. And the only reason I left out the Sun Belt is because other than James Madison, those teams have no real consequence on the overall rankings. And so I didn't want to fool with it, and kind of in a time crunch to get this done. So I just went ahead and skipped it. But I will finish it out at some point in the day, maybe tomorrow. But I wanted to get this recorded for you guys. And so one thing I wanted to clarify before we even get started. So if you look at Georgia that we did earlier, Georgia, Georgia Tech, I gave Georgia a road bonus for beating Georgia Tech. Now, technically, it wasn't at Georgia Tech. It was in Atlanta at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Now, to me, it's still a road game, right? It is neutral site, but you still have to pack up and travel, right? You're not playing at your home stadium. So for the sake of trying to figure out a different way to measure it, I just gave it 7. And I'm going to do that for every team that wins at a neutral site game. Because, again, it is like a road game. It's kind of a half road game because it's neutral. But for the sake of this, I gave everyone a bonus of 7 if you are not playing in your home stadium. So just to clarify that before we get started. Okay, so first we're going to look at Indiana. Okay, so Indiana beat Purdue on the road. Indiana is number 1, so they're worth 136 points. They beat Purdue, who's only worth 9 because they're a terrible team. And they beat them by 53 points, and they got a road bonus. Now we go to Purdue. They lost to Indiana. I swear I can spell. And they get minus 1 point because Indiana is the number 1 team, and they lost by 53. They don't get a road bonus because they were at home. So we go over here to the streak. Now, the streak for Indiana, pretty impressive. Main reason why they're number 1. So look here at their wins. This one against Indiana State. It is an FCS team, so it does not count as part of the streak. So you get 1, 2, nothing here. It's kind of an exhibition, as if the streak pauses, and then it picks up over here. So against Illinois. So right here, we'll start their 5 points for the streak. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45 points for Indiana for that streak. Now we go to Purdue. Purdue, quite the losing streak. So there's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So minus 40 for Purdue, and that's one of the reasons why they're 128th in the country. Okay, so we sort that out. We got them out of the way. Okay, next, we are going to look at Texas A&M. This ought to be a good one. I don't think many people thought Texas would win, but sure enough, they came out with a 10-point victory. So Texas wins. Texas A&M. Man, I swear I can spell. There we go. I'm using a different keyboard, so I'm not quite used to it all the time. So they beat Texas A&M, who I had at number 6. So they earn 131 points. It's a huge win for them. They won by 10. We'll look at their bonus here, and we'll look at no road bonus. So we'll go to Texas A&M. They lost to Texas, lost at Texas, minus 13 points because that's the inverse of TCU's worth. They have minus 10, and they have no road bonus. So we'll go up here we'll just punch in Texas. We'll look at their shirt schedule and results. And Texas, no streak bonus for them because they lost to Georgia a couple weeks ago. And the teams that aren't making a conference title game, their points stop here. And the same thing with teams that lose a conference title game, but we'll get into that in a minute. And so Texas A&M loses. They end a streak here, so they get no points for their streak bonus or penalty. So we'll sort that out there. Move on to the next one. Okay, we already did Georgia Tech. Now we'll look at Ole Miss and Mississippi State, right? A lot of interesting things coming out of Mississippi, with Lane Kiffin leaving and people making the argument whether they should be in because they lost a head coach and I believe a coordinator as well. And so is the committee going to look at them the way they looked at Florida State when they lost their first two starting quarterbacks, did not put them in the Final Four of the college football playoff because, honestly, they didn't think it would be very entertaining, and they would just assume Florida State would lose. I disagree with that. It may be true that they were going to lose, but you know what? They earned it to that point. They were undefeated. So anyway, Mississippi or Ole Miss beats Mississippi State at Mississippi State. And so they earned 51 points. This is going to be extremely embarrassing, but I'm going to do some calculator math because I want to make sure I got that right. 19, just as I thought it was going to be. I just want to make sure that you guys knew what it was going to be. So we get a road bonus here. Then Mississippi State loses to Ole Miss. And so they get minus 16 for that. And then a minus 19 because that's the score margin. And obviously no road bonus. So we'll go up here, scroll up. And so quite an impressive streak for Ole Miss. So they got 1, 2, would have had 3 here. This doesn't count. So the streak pauses. And then you get, right here's your 5 points. And then you get 10 points here. So there we are with Ole Miss at 10. Mississippi State, 5-7, not a great year. So not very much an impressive win for Ole Miss. So 3 losses in a row. That's going to give them minus 5. Okay, so we're going to scroll here. We're going to sort that out. Now we're on to the next one. Let's see, Utah and Kansas. I believe I already did this one, but I will double check here. I don't see any Ks. So, yeah, I don't see Utah. I already did that one. Arizona State, I did that one too, mostly because that has no bearing on the college football playoff. Texas Tech certainly does. They crushed my West Virginia Mountaineers, so we'll go ahead and see where they land. So they won at WVU. So because they beat us, WVU was worth 40 points because we were ranked 97th. They beat us by 49. It was a butt kicking. I was there. We tried to just get excited about back-to-back first downs because that's about as much success as we had. So West Virginia loses to Texas Tech, right? They're ranked 10th in my settings here, or my rankings. So minus 10 for West Virginia, minus 49 in points. Obviously no road bonus. And so we'll go up here and we'll punch in Texas Tech. Scroll down, quite the impressive streak for them, for the Red Raiders. I hate these ads. And so, oh my gosh, come on now. So right here, 1, 2, 3, that's 5, 10, 15 points for the Texas Tech Red Raiders. And then we'll go to West Virginia. I don't believe they get a streak because I think we had won a game 2 weeks ago. Yeah, so we only lost 2 in a row. That doesn't affect us very much. But, don't worry, guys. We're coming. We're coming back. So Big 12, beware. Move on to the next one, the big game, Ohio State, Michigan. Let's see where they fall. I don't believe Michigan has a chance at the college playoff, but obviously Ohio State does. I have them number 3 in the country. So they won at Michigan. Big time win for the Buckeyes. They earn 118 points. They beat them by, this is going to make me look really stupid, but I believe it is 27 minus 9. Why I can't do this in my head, I don't know. So we're just going to make sure. I want to say it's 16. 18. I had the right idea, right? So 18. Obviously, they get a road bonus. And public math was never my strong suit. I'm more of a writer. I talk a lot, sometimes nonsense. But Michigan loses to, we'll just put OSU. We all know what we're talking about. They only lose 3, minus 18. Obviously, no road bonus there. And so we'll go ahead and punch in Ohio State, and we'll look to see where the Buckeyes fall for Week 14. 12-0, very impressive. Number 1 in the country in most, if not all, polls, except for mine, but that's okay. So look here. Again, the streak pauses with Grambling State. So 1, 2, 3, that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, right alongside Indiana. 45 right there. We'll go to Michigan. I believe Michigan will not have any kind of streak penalty with that loss. I don't believe. Nope. They would have had a bonus if they won, but that loss ends the streak. So we'll go ahead and clear that. I hope you guys are staying with me. I have a lot of fun doing this. The worst ones are the MAC and the Sun Belt and the Mountain West, because most times those teams have no bearing on the college football landscape. And so it's a lot easier to do these, the Power 4. So Oregon won at Washington. Man, a lot of road wins in this one. Washington is ranked 45th, so they're worth 92 points. They beat them. I can do this math. It's 12, right? And they do get a road bonus. And so we'll go back down to Washington. And they lost to Oregon. So they get minus 12 because Oregon was 12th in mine. And they lose by 12 points. Obviously, no road bonus with there. So we'll go over to Oregon. This is the part that takes so long, is these websites loading up. And so Oregon, quite the streak, lost to Indiana. But here we go. 1, 2, that's 5, 10, 15, 20. So they get 20 bonus points for that. Washington, I believe, does not have any kind of penalty because I think they won the week before. Correct, they did. They beat UCLA. They lost here, so no points, no penalties. And we're just moving right along here, fellas and girls, if you're watching. Probably not. I'd say most people that watch this are men, but you never know. The ladies are out there. Okay, Oklahoma. You beat LSU, and you did it at home. So you have earned 90 points, and you beat them by, I can do that. It's 4. And no road bonus. That's okay. So Oklahoma, LSU, you lost at Oklahoma. So you're minus 20, because that's what I have Oklahoma ranked. Obviously, a giant disparity from where ESPN has them ranked. Minus 4 points. No road bonus for you. And so we'll go, we'll just punch in LSU because it'll probably come up first. I don't know why it does this. Every once in a while, it does their whole history, and I don't want that. I just want 2025. I've had a lot of coffee at this point, so if I'm talking really fast and moving fast, that's why. So no road bonus and no streak penalty. And then Oklahoma, I think, is on quite the tear lately. They ended the season pretty well, 10-2 record. Let's see here. So they finished with, oh boy, come on now. It's going to be 10 points, but I just want to show you guys. Move this ad. So 1, 2, 3, that's 5, 10. Okay, there we go. We'll get them out of the way. And next, we're going to go to Notre Dame and Stanford. I don't believe I did this one yet. Actually, I did. I think I already went ahead and did this one because, excuse me, Stanford is, I don't know, they didn't get many points from it. Apologize. Tickling my throat here. So, Alabama, they won at Auburn. Oops, if I can spell that correctly. Auburn, and they earned 60 points as Auburn is rated 77th. They beat them by 7. They do get a road bonus. So we'll circle back here to Auburn, and they lost to Alabama. And so they get -9 because that's what I have Bama ranked. They lost by 7. No road bonus. Let's see. We're already in the SEC, so I can just go ahead and pull up Alabama here. 10-2, another impressive record for an SEC team. No streak for them. They lost to Oklahoma, then they beat a nobody, so they get no bonus points for that. And then Auburn, I think, kind of hit the skids. I think they're going to have a streak penalty. Come on, Wi-Fi, you can do it. I pay enough money, you should be able to do it. Okay, so they beat Mercer, which doesn't really count. So that pauses. Oh, this is interesting. We haven't came across this yet. So when you beat an FCS team, it doesn't count. It doesn't count in any kind of streak unless you would lose to them, because I'm going to penalize you for losing to an FCS team. But it doesn't pause, or it doesn't include a streak if you win. So this is kind of an exhibition. It's like it pauses your schedule. Well, here you go. They lost to Kentucky. They lost to Vanderbilt. This doesn't count. So then they lost to Alabama. So I count that as part of the streak. So you do have -5 points, Auburn. Sorry. Maybe you get better players or a better coach. I don't know what to tell you. And then next we're going to move on to BYU, who I think it is a disgrace that they are not being considered as of right now. And honestly, a disgrace that they would have to win the Big 12 title to even be considered in the playoff. They're 11-1 in a Power 4 conference. So, I digress. They beat UCF. They earned 52 points. They beat them by 20. It was at home, so no road bonus. I do believe they will get a streak. And then UCF lost at BYU. So they are -7 because that's what I have BYU ranked. -20. Obviously, no road bonus. So we'll go ahead up here and punch in BYU. Again, it gives me the history. I don't care about 101 years of BYU. I care about 1 year of BYU football. So we want to go quite the impressive streak they had going into it, although they lost to Texas Tech. So we'll get a rematch in the Big 12 title game. Ads, and more ads. I get it. They got to pay the bills. So they had a 3-game winning streak, so they get 5 points for that. Congratulations to BYU. UCF 5-7 on the year. Not that impressive, although they blew West Virginia out, so I can't really say a whole lot, right? And let me see. Come on. There we go. So they did beat Oklahoma State, which stopped that streak, but they have a loss right after that, so they get no points rewarded. And so we'll go ahead and sort that one. Who's next on the list? Miami at Pittsburgh. This is controversy, people. Everybody talking about Miami needs to be in because they beat. Did I already do that one? Sorry, I already did that one. My apologies. I'll go ahead and show you what they look like. So they beat Pitt. They got 123 points because they beat them. They beat them by 31. They did get a road bonus, so I'll put that one in there. I can't remember what all ones I did and what I didn't. But we'll do Vandy and Tennessee. Okay, so Vandy, they won at Tennessee. Man, a lot of road wins. Very, very impressive week for college football. So Vandy beat Tennessee, who was ranked 28, so they get 109 points for that. They beat them 45-24. I can do the math. I believe that's 21. And they did win on the road. So they get that road bonus. Tennessee loses to Vandy. And they lose 15 points because of it. They lose by 21. Obviously, no road bonus. So we'll just go ahead and plug in Vanderbilt. 10-2, very impressive. I mean, what Clark Lee's has done at Vanderbilt is just wow. You can't say enough, and it just shows that money and the right coach can do a lot of things to any program. I mean, Vandy was the whipping boy of not just the SEC, but college football in general for a long time. So Vandy ends on a 3-game win streak, so they get 5 points for that. Tennessee finished 8-4, not their best work. Although, not too bad. I would take an 8-4 over 4-8 for West Virginia, but they get no bonus for those, so we'll filter them out. Next, okay, USC, UCLA, I believe. Did I do that one already? Yes, I did. Let's see, Virginia Tech, I did that one. SMU, Cal, Tulane. Yeah, I did that one. The only one I am missing right now is James Madison. And they're not ranked at all. I have them 8th. I can get laughed at about that, but they win. And they've been very impressive this year. And I understand that they're not a Power 4 conference. But again, my argument with that is their team's talent is comparable to the competition, right? It's not like they're playing their SEC talent playing this weak schedule, right? And the SEC wants to complain that, hey, maybe a 9-3 or an 8-4 should get in the playoff because we have a lot of talent and a tough schedule. Yes, but you have the money and the resources to be able to load up that talent to play somebody equal to you. JMU doesn't. So the fact that they're winning at the rate that they're winning, to me, is impressive. And I think that deserves an opportunity to do something great, right? Even if they don't win, imagine what that does to the program to uplift it, to know that you could make the college football playoff at a smaller school like JMU. And so they win at, we'll just put CC, Coastal Carolina. Not an impressive win because Coastal Carolina is not that great. So they got 56 points. They beat them by 49. And they get a road bonus. So Coastal Carolina, they lost to JMU. They're -8 because I think JMU is pretty good, but they did lose by 49. And no bonus there. And so I think it's going to do this last time. I can't put JMU. For some reason, I have to put James Madison. That's okay. 11-1. I mean, they've earned it. And this is why I put a lot of emphasis on consecutive wins. It's hard to win in college football. So if you can do it like this, a streak like this, that's impressive. And so obviously this one doesn't count, right? Then they lost. So we'll start here. 1, 2, 3. That's 5 points. 10, 15. All right, did I do that right? 5. There we go. 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So they earn 40 points with that win because they've won 40 in a row, right? This system rewards winning and rewards consistent winning. It doesn't matter what conference you belong to. It doesn't matter what the sticker is on the side of your helmet, what color your jersey is, who your boosters are, what you've done in the past, what your recruiting rank is. It doesn't matter. Did you win? How much did you win by, and who did you beat? That's the 3 things that matter in college football. So looking here, Coastal Carolina, they ended their season on a 3-game losing streak, so they lose 5 points, okay? And ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the last of the rankings. And so these right here, as you can see, Akron, App State, Louisville, I think they were on a bye, but as you see, they're 48th. And UConn, I think it has like 35. Right, these aren't teams that are vying for a college football playoff. I will fill these in later, I promise. But again, I was on a time crunch, so I just wanted to kind of get through the main players and see how we look there. And so we're going to go over here. And as you can see, I wanted to point this out too. these season points are already loaded, and the BRI season points are already loaded because I already have a formula in there saying your season points plus your weekly points for what you get. So if they want a bye week, let's say who's number 20 here. Let me scroll over a little bit further. So Akron, right? They're only worth 20 points because they're rated 116. If they don't play anybody, they at least still earn 20 points for the week, right? So if you're not playing anybody, I try not to punish you for doing that. It's one of the kinks I do have to work out on this system, but so far I think it's worked out pretty well. And so, 88, Louisville's going to earn 88 points if they didn't play a game. So it's kind of a cushion that you earn even though you didn't play. So you're not getting passed by everyone who played a game, right? You shouldn't be punished too much because you didn't play. And so those things are already kind of factored out. So what we're going to do here, the great reveal, I'm going to open this up here and I'm going to sort this and we are going to look at my top 12. You guys ready? Here we go. Boom, boom, boom. We know what two of these are, right? Because we already highlighted. So we're going to over here and reveal it. So my top 4 are Indiana, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Georgia. Georgia. Then we have Utah, James Madison, BYU, Texas Tech, Alabama finds their way into the playoff, Oregon, Texas A&M, and USC. Interesting. USC. I wouldn't have guessed that. I'll be honest. This might be a slight flaw in my system here. They have been propped up a lot. I don't know why. It says 13 here, but what it is, since my banner here takes up the first space, the number 2 slot in Excel is actually the number 1 team. So you got to go down one more. So these are the top 12. I don't know that USC belongs there, but I'll tell you what, they will get surpassed. Let me see who Tulane's playing in one. Miami, I have Miami out. As you can see, they're 23rd. That's going to be controversial, I believe. Oklahoma, I have at 18. Ole Miss, I have at 16. I got Iowa in there. Vanderbilt at 14. Texas at 13. This one's a tricky one. I don't believe USC belongs in the top 12, but that's what this has here. And so, again, these are my top 12. I'm going to go ahead and I'll just highlight them right here. That would be the playoff in my system, right? I don't do conference title champions or, conference champions. Those are not automatic qualifiers. I believe that game is completely overrated. My personal opinion, and the reason why is because you look at the ACC. You have Duke and Virginia. Now, as we stand with the college football playoff, if you win, it's not an automatic qualifier. But if they expand it to 16, which they're probably going to do, and eventually I'm sure to 20 or 24, I guarantee that's going to happen at some point, 16 for sure, you have to start doing automatic qualifiers for conference championships. I mean, you don't have to, but they will. And in that scenario, Duke would make the playoff at 8-5. An 8-5 team in the worst Power 4 conference, sorry ACC, you are, does not belong in the playoff. There's way too much emphasis on one game. You've lost 5 games this season. That tells me you are not a playoff caliber team. And just because you win one game does not mean you should get into an elite playoff system, right? This system is for the elite. And so you look here. I mean, look at the disparity. You got Indiana, it's a Big Ten. Another Big Ten, that's 2. Let me go here. Oregon is a Big Ten, and USC. Although, again, that's controversial. I don't think USC belongs there. Notre Dame is an independent. Georgia, SEC. So who other SEC? Alabama's an SEC. Texas A&M is an SEC. Texas is sitting on the outside. Then who else do we have? Obviously, I said independent. And then James Madison, right? They're going to be your G5 participant. So it's pretty even. There's no conference that dominates. And to me, it's because the best of each conference are getting in, despite having a conference title or not. Now, this is going to change over after next week. right? Because Indiana and Notre Dame are going to play. Or Notre Dame. Indiana, Ohio State are going to play. One of these is going to knock each other out of the top 4. Now, the way I do conference titles, so I said they shouldn't be automatic qualifiers, but what they should be are bonuses, right? You should get bonus points for winning your conference title because it's an extra game. It's an extra game that you had to play and you won. So let's say Indiana, Ohio State play. Let's say Indiana wins by 3. Okay, they're at 136. They would earn 134 plus 3, so 137 points. And, probably a road bonus because it's going to be in Indianapolis, I believe. So Indiana would stay at number 1, but Ohio State is going to keep their total of 2,018 points. They're not going to lose points for being in a conference title because then that would punish them for achieving something, right? None of these other teams, Notre Dame, Utah, let's see, Bama's in there, Oregon's not, A&M's not, right? That would give them a chance. It might, if Ohio State loses or Georgia loses, that would give Utah a chance to jump them if I counted that loss against them. That's not fair. They've earned a spot in the title. I'm not saying the title is worthless. I'm just saying it's overrated. And so if you win the title game, you get bonus. If you lose the title game, you're not losing anything. It's like a bye. Your points stay the same. And so this will, if Ohio State wins, they're going to jump Notre Dame because Notre Dame is on a bye basically this week. They don't have a conference title game, right? If BYU wins, they're going to jump. Texas Tech, certainly they'll jump. Alabama, they'll jump up. Georgia, if they lose, they may not jump down, but if somebody else wins, it's a back and forth. And again, this one right here, I will admit my flaws on this. USC kind of has me stumped. And maybe I have to go back through and see what has happened. Maybe somebody earned points that they weren't supposed to earn. I'm not really sure. It's kind of it's a bit of a conundrum, to say the least. Hey guys, I wanted to interject here real quick. I know that I kind of had challenged myself to go back and look at USC and see if maybe some calculations were wrong, and why they are earning a 12 seed in my system here, which would put them into the playoff. Again, I know that's very controversial, especially when you have teams like Vanderbilt and Ole Miss and Oklahoma kind of nipping at the heels and having a better record, in Miami as well. So I went back through, excuse me, and I looked at it. So USC started the season number 5 when I did my initial rankings, right? And I've said it before, this is all based off the category. So they were performing very well on the field, statistically. And so they were at number 5 coming in. They beat Michigan, who I had rated at number 12. So that bumped USC to number 3. Then they lost to number 10 Notre Dame, so that bumped them down to number 10. They had a bye week. That kind of pushed them down to number 17. Again, this is a bit of a flaw in the system that a bye would kind of punish you, but it knocked them down 7 ranks because other teams that were winning surpassed them. But nevertheless, next week they came back and they beat Nebraska, who I had rated at 18 at the time, so that bumped them up to number 11. And then week 11, they beat Northwestern. That bumped them up to number 9. So they were 7-2 in the country. 7-2 in the Big Ten. A lot of people probably wouldn't argue that a team like that shouldn't be rated number 9. But anyway, in week 12, they beat Iowa, who the AP had ranked at 21. I had Iowa ranked at 13th. At the time, before USC played them, I believe they were 6-3, 4-2 in the Big Ten. So certainly a good team. USC beat them, so they jumped up from number 9 to number 7. And then week 13 was a big loss to Oregon. I had Oregon ranked number 13 at the time, so that drops USC from 7 to 11. Now, if you look at AP polls, if a team is at number 7, you go on the road and lose to number 13, I would say dropping 4 spots is about right, give or take a few.
but I don't think it's such a drastic drop because you played a tough team on the road. And then they close out going into week 14. They were ranked 11th, so they close out with a huge win over UCLA. Huge as in points, not necessarily the rating of the opponent. I have UCLA rated 63rd. So actually, that dropped USC a whole ranking, going from 11 to 12, and that's where you see them now. So I went back through the numbers. I looked at it. All the calculations were correct. I think just Michigan. I think USC just had a difficult schedule. Like I said, at one point they were 7-2, 8-2 after they beat Iowa, and then they lose to a tough team in Oregon. And Texas is complaining that they should be in. They're 9-3 as well. So you could easily swap out Texas and USC. They're right there, neck and neck in my rating. So I just wanted to clarify that. I went back and looked at the calculations. Everything was right. It just puts SEC at number 12. So, maybe I don't agree with it. Maybe Vanderbilt should probably be there in their place. Either Ole Miss or Oklahoma certainly has an argument that they could be there instead. But everything was right, and I just wanted to verify that and let you guys know that. So we'll get back into the episode. And so with that, this is my top 12. This is how the system works. You can see their points, and I'll just do this. This might be a little bit helpful, just so you can kind of see the points together. This is their points right here. And so the three best teams, honestly, if you're looking at it, Indiana, Notre Dame, Ohio State. People might have a problem with Indiana or Notre Dame being number 2. The reason why is because they're in their win streak. That's exactly why they are at number 2. They have earned what was an additional 45 points. It was 35 points off that win. Now again, this will change again once the conference championships are done. But as of right now, this is how the system works. I think most people think Miami should be in and not Notre Dame at number 2. But again, this isn't biased, right? The only part that's really biased, again, is the stats I use to start the ranking process, but also the win streak. It is a bit of a subjective category because I choose to start it at 3 wins. Now, if I did 5 points for every win, it would certainly be different. If I did 5 points for every 2 wins, like a 2-game win streak, that'd be different. But in my opinion, 3 games earns you points. Back-to-back wins, they're not easy to come by, but it's not extremely difficult. 3 wins could be. Especially if you're like in the SEC or Big 10 or Big 12, right? You may have a gauntlet of the schedule. So if you win 3 games, you should be rewarded for that. So I'm going to close this out here. This is the system. Does it have its flaws? Absolutely. So does every other system, right? If every other system was perfect, then whoever was picked preseason number 1 would be number 1 all the way through. They would never lose, right? This thing has flaws. It's a work in progress. It's something I've been working on for almost a decade now. And I'm going to keep working on it to try to perfect it. But this is it as we speak here in 2025. This is how it works. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, this is my college football laboratory. So I will leave you. I hope you learned something. I hope you like it. Give me some feedback. Let me know what you think. Let me know if I have no idea what I'm doing. If you think that, let me know if I'm on to something. I kind of think I'm on to something, right? I think this cuts through bias, and it's a good balance across the country. If you notice, though, there's no ACC team. I mean, I guess you could technically say Notre Dame is ACC because they kind of have that schedule, but no ACC team is in here. The next highest one is Pittsburgh at 18. Why? Because the ACC was not that good this year. There was a lot of bad teams overall. And so I think this is fair. I think it's balanced. I think it rewards the best teams from each conference without having to go with your conference title winner. It rewards winning. It rewards winning consistently. And so with that, again, I'm going to close it out. I thank you guys for all your support. Thanks for watching. Remember, hype fades, stats speak. Goodbye. God bless. Go Ears.